Warning, this video will contain massive spoilers to the Mass Effect games, including the ending to the final game of the trilogy. If you haven't played the games and are planning to do so, I would refrain from watching this video, as it will probably make you not want to play the final game. Regardless of what I say in this video, I really do think the Mass Effect games are one of the best series of games ever made, and my impressions in this video are merely a reaction and critique to the ending of the third game. I would highly recommend that you play the games, as it is an experience definitely worth having. Mass Effect 3. The Mass Effect 3 ending has to be one of the most ridiculous endings to a game I've ever seen, but we'll get into that. I guess what it comes down to is, why did Bioware have to end one of the greatest sci-fi video game trilogies like this? And when you ask yourself this question, provided you have seen this ending, I'm sure a lot of you were thinking the same thing. What? But still, why did Bioware create such an ending in the first place? They had to have known that the ending wouldn't be as well received this way. Many people had to test the game. Something like this takes planning. A lot of it. Someone actually had to go in and okay this probably multiple times. The results being we are left with an ending that is so convoluted, out of left field, and doesn't really pertain to anything actually going on in the main story and the grand scheme of things. So what I hope to do with this video is take into account many of the discrepancies with the current ending, what could have potentially been a better ending, plot holes, and whatever else comes to mind. First, let's start off by recapping. In Mass Effect, you play a guy or girl named Commander Shepard, a soldier in the Alliance army capable of single-handedly making the tough choices, or the minor ones, that ultimately make you either a complete good guy or badass evil guy, neutral, whatever, or girl. You can be a girl. The entire story revolves around a sentient machine race called the Reapers, who are essentially enormous space synthetics who have annihilated the entire galaxy of organisms many times, cleansing it of all uplifted civilizations. And this event is known as a cycle. In the previous cycle, they wiped out a race of aliens known as the Protheans, and the Protheans are a central mystery to the game throughout the entire series, as are the Reapers. So Shepard and company figure out that the Reapers not only exist, but that the end of their cycle is nearing the end, and that the Reapers will soon come to wipe out the galaxy. So there you go. You got your basic premise, end of the world is near, let's try and stop it. Nothing wrong so far! Oh no! So I guess let's just get into the train wreck that is the Mass Effect 3 ending. So after you valiantly charge the beam that will put you to the Citadel, not unlike the Conduit, which is where you need to be to activate the Crucible, a Prothean device that's function remains mysterious, Shepard and company get cut off by a massive Reaper. So after you collect yourself and enter slow motion walking phase, which extends the ending by 20 minutes, you get up to the Citadel and meet up with the Elusive Man. He's since upgraded himself to control the Reapers. However, it is hinted at multiple times that he is, of course, indoctrinated, which is when the Reapers are in your mind hole and telling you to do things, and he just doesn't know it. So you kill him. Depending on your actions, Anderson will die, or you'll have a nice death scene with him where you two look out into space over the battle, having a nice kind of "we've been through a lot of shit" moment that makes you really pumped inside. At this point, I was 100% behind the ending. I was, of course, more eager to see what would happen next. I didn't realize, though, that what happened next would be the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my whole life. I don't freaking know. I don't know. I guess that's what I get for the one time I stole when I was 4 or something. I don't know. So basically, you get raised onto a platform of light up into the depths of the Citadel, symbolically looking like you've just been raised into heaven.
Which is funny because when you get up there, it's more like hell.
You're greeted by what is essentially a god. This character takes the form of a child you saw killed at the very beginning of the game during the Reaper invasion of Earth. The idea that the character looks the same is never mentioned or brought up or discussed in any way. We don't even get like a little, "Oh, I'm taking on the vision of your past," so we don't even know what's really going on. Ideally, they probably should have made this character look different as to not bring up any more questions than are already being posed by the ridiculous situation at hand. So, this apparent godchild tells you that he's in control of the Reapers. He's been using them to wipe out the galaxy every 40 to 50,000 years so that he can bring order to chaos. He's been doing this for billions of years. Wait, what? I mean, I know, that's the whole point. But why does this entity think that murder is the only solution for peace, when he is trying to bring peace and not chaos? But he is clearly being chaotic in his methods, and he cannot even see this? I mean, I understand that after the Reapers leave, there is a peace period for a long time, but the method itself is chaotic, so in turn illogical to the situation of the problem of peace? Or is that chaos? And this entity cannot even see this, nor pose a better solution to the chaos, which in itself is ambiguous and subjective to this entity in this situation. So the God Kid tells you that you have three choices. A. Kill yourself and take control of the Reapers. B. Kill yourself and turn everything to space synthetics by synthesis. C. Kill yourself and destroy the Reapers and all other synthetics, including Reapers, the Geth, and AIs like Edie. But I love Edie! Awesome! I like it when I've had a character for 3 games, then the last 5 minutes of the final game need to kill him off for some ambiguous godchild entity that was just introduced. That's the kind of shit I live for!
Oh, wait, no, it's not.
So I guess you're hinted at living in choice C, but that's only if you either beat New Game Plus or imported your character from Mass Effect 2, which I did, so there's that. But I chose B the first time, to be honest, and then immediately regretted my decision. In this choice, it literally changes everyone, unwillingly I might add, into a hybrid machine/organism, much like the Reapers already are. In the ending sequence, you can see that there are machine-like properties to everyone and everything now, and then I was like, what the f***? And then immediately reloaded my game because I thought I would try to get a different ending. Little did I know that the ending to the game is pretty much quite unchangeable. Yes, you can change minor characteristics to each of the endings, or like one big one. It's like whatever your choice is. But ultimately, you get the same scenes, you're given very little information, and you don't really know what happens to anything or anybody. It just ends. So for someone like me who has invested hundreds of hours into the games, you get a little pissed off. Some of you might actually like the ending. I don't know why you would. But I think that objectively speaking, the ending is not very strong. And I know that's kind of subjective. Like, that's a subjective, it's like subjective to like or dislike some. But I don't think many people would argue that it was a strong end to the series. So you're left with a lot of questions.
And feelings of betrayal.
But mostly a lot of questions. Like these. Number 1. If the Citadel wasn't built by humans or the other alien species and was built by the Reapers, which it says it is, why would the Reapers build a device that uplifts alien species and in turn creates the chaos by which they have to cleanse the galaxy of? Isn't that a bit circular? No, I get it. I get the fact that the Citadel is also a mass relay that gets people to come from dark space. I didn't forget that. But this is the explanation? The literal reason the entity godchild created the Reapers, a synthetic race, is to kill organisms to stop them from creating synthetics that would kill themselves. Why would he do this? Why is he doing the exact same thing he is trying to stop? Why? I just don't... Why? I guess maybe there was some bad programming in the Reapers or something, cause this shit doesn't make any sense! Number 2. If the crewmates that I brought with me were part of the final charge towards the beam back on Earth, and we got decimated by Harbinger, the Reaper, or a Harbinger class Reaper, doesn't really say. Why are my squad mates who were with me on Earth, this includes the entire cast of characters as well as your squad, suddenly and inexplicably on the Normandy during the final sequence where Joker and the Normandy crash on the jungle-like planet? I mean, I get that Joker was like, hey, I'm gonna go meet up with Sword Group or whatever, and that's his excuse. His excuse, but not everyone else's excuse. Oh, I get it. I guess Joker decided to save my teammates while leaving me there to die, and then he decided that he would flee the system. 'Cause that makes sense. Maybe he had some space chores to do or something. I don't know. Number 3. Doesn't the existence of the catalyst completely counter or make Sovereign's actions useless? So let's all go back all the way to Mass Effect 1. Sovereign is controlling Saren by indoctrination, and Saren is trying to find the conduit for Sovereign. And Sovereign is trying to activate the Citadel so the Reapers can port in, because the Citadel is a mass relay, which is explained all in one. But why is that at all a thing that needs to be done? If the catalyst is the kid and he is part of the Citadel, why does Sovereign need to be physically physically there to activate the Citadel as a relay? The short answer is he doesn't. If the catalyst is there the whole time and he is the creator of the Reapers, then he is certainly a powerful enough entity to do whatever is necessary in activating the Citadel, is he not? It just makes Sovereign's actions seem totally misguided or unnecessary because he died at the end of ME1. But he never had to if the catalyst just activated it for the Reapers. The entire galaxy could have been destroyed then. Sovereign's actions don't make any sense anymore. The entire thing gets backtracked by the existence of the catalyst.
Number 4.
Why do the options at the end seem out of place or reversed? At the end of the game, when you have to choose between the 3 choices, it seems like the choices are almost reversed for Paragon and Renegade. Controlling something like the Reaper seems inherently like the evil thing to do, does it not? Something a Renegade might choose at his ending because he wants power over something big, destructive, and powerful, but alternatively killing off the Reapers is supposed to be the bad choice? So the choice that most reflects what we've been trying to achieve the entire time we've played through all 3 games ends up being the bad choice? The Renegade choice?
That makes sense. Oh wait, not again. Number 5.
Why do all the choices destroy the mass relays? So okay, I guess the Godchild does say that using the Crucible will destroy the mass relays. So, you know, they got themselves covered there. Well, okay then, guess we gotta find a new way to destroy the Reapers, because isn't this like the worst possible thing that could happen to the galaxy? I mean, aside from dying to the Reapers, of course. The Mass Effect universe depends so heavily on the mass relays for transportation that if by chance they were destroyed, wouldn't the entire galaxy deteriorate over time or die out? None of the current generation alien species, including the humans, built the Citadel or the mass relays. That is stated many times throughout the series. So I think it's safe to assume that they do not know how to build the technology that uplifted them because the Reapers are the ones responsible for that technology. But of course, now we have to assume that the Godchild is the one responsible if he is the one who created the Reapers. But then we must also assume that whoever lived at the creation of the Godchild entity are responsible, or did the entity exist at the creation of the universe? None of this is explained at all! And until the last 5 minutes of the game, we have been content that the Reapers were the ones who built the Citadel and that the same technology was used by the Reapers to create the mass relays. This entire segment retroactively nullifies all of the information we have learned about the Citadel and the Reapers thus far, in the span of 5 minutes at the end of the game trilogy.
Number 6.
Why don't my choices or resources have a bigger impact on the game's ending? Mass Effect is a game about choices. Big choices. Did you kill the Arachnite Queen? Did you save the Council? Did many of your teammates die during the Mass Effect 2 suicide mission? Did you reunite the Geth in the Quarren? Did you cure the Genophage? All of these are real choices that affect the galaxy, and your character in some way. But do they affect the ending? Nope! So what's the point then? Playing through all the games, importing your characters from previous entries to continue the fight, if all that happens in the end is you choose one of 3 ambiguous choices that vaguely change one aspect to the ending. Why wouldn't Bioware take this opportunity to, go out with a bang? You can take that for the literal sense, as in, if your army rating wasn't high enough, something goes wrong with the Crucible activation or something. At least that'd be something different. But what I really meant by go out with a bang is actually backing their word on the many different endings they promised to deliver. Casey Hudson, the producer, stated this not too long ago. This story arc is coming to an end with this game. That means the endings can be a lot more different. At this point, we are taking into account so many decisions that you've made as the player and reflecting a lot of that stuff. Oh. You're taking into consideration all the decisions we've made? Really? Well, if that isn't the biggest piece of bull I've heard in a while. What you do throughout the course of the game doesn't really affect the ending very much. There are minor changes overall, but ideally the same things are pretty much going to happen. You could have had the complete opposite character that I've had, and you're left with the same amount of little information of the situation at the end anyway. The Reapers are either A, controlled, B, destroyed, or C, merged. I know that's simplifying a bit, but either way, the Normandy ends up crashing on some jungle planet, and your crew is presumably stuck there. And then the game ends. But why didn't Bioware just go all out? Why didn't they provide tons of endings with multiple outcomes, scenarios, and a little after the epic war epilogue that shows us how the decisions may have impacted the universe? Which it clearly hints at the entire time you're playing the third game. I understand that this would be a huge undertaking, but was anyone honestly expecting anything less? You could argue that expectations were too high, and that there was no way that the game could have exceeded anyone's expectations or lived up to all its hype or whatever, but you can't tell me that you expected one pretty much underwhelming, confusing, and interchangeable, and ultimately unchanging end to the series. Doesn't that defeat the entire purpose to this specific series to this date?
Sorry, Bioware, it's a little late to backtrack everything we've learned about the entire series.
At the end of Mass Effect 1 and 2, there are things that can affect the outcome of the game, and those choices were important and worth replaying, because your world would be different in the sequels. They created an extremely fun mechanic that hasn't really been seen in a game, making replaying the game and making different choices one of the best parts of playing the game to begin with. These choices didn't pan out in the third installment, and I think that's why people are so frustrated at the game. Discarding 3 games worth of meaningful relationships and choices doesn't seem like a good way to end the series.
And I'm not saying that I could write a much better ending to this series, but I'm gonna try.
So here we go. Here's the way that I would have handled things given that I know all the information about the current ending. And here's the things that I would have changed, remaining as close to their current choices as possible though. Shepard just got done defending the missile cell, and now he needs to charge the beam to get to the Citadel, and by extension the Crucible. What if instead of getting hit, if your war assets are really high, the Harbinger doesn't actually hit you? Doesn't this make a little sense? If you had the extra soldiers and reinforcements, maybe they'd distract the Reaper long enough for, you know, your squad to get in and into the Citadel unscathed. Of course, if you had the bare minimum, the opposite would happen, and the story would progress as it is now, killing off your teammates and leaving you injured, thus justifying your death at the end of the game. Because you know, you took a Reaper beam to the face. So let's assume you had enough war assets, and you successfully avoided being hit by the beam because your abundance of soldiers did their job and distracted the Reapers, and have now changed what happens. Now, we can have another epic mission on the Citadel itself. You could see the entire Citadel being changed into something like a collector ship, just corpses everywhere, really organic looking machine stuff, almost like they're trying to build another Reaper of some kind again. So you progress through the Citadel with your squad, because they're still with you now, and make it to the room to open the Citadel to connect the Crucible. At this point, things can play out as they currently exist. Anderson would be there, the elusive man could do his whole spiel, and ta-da, you kill him, or alternatively, you can fight him, because, you know, he's basically a Reaper now, and would at least give you some sort of boss fight at the end. So this is where the ending could start to branch out a lot. Basically scrap the whole godchild thing because it has nothing to do with anything. Okay, time for a side note. Okay, if you guys could have guessed what the Crucible does at this point, what do you think is its function? Through the entire game so far, we have not even known what the Crucible actually does. For all we know, it's some sort of galactic disco ball for the galaxy's biggest party, but everyone and their moms thinks it's a weapon to kill the Reapers, and technically that is what is hinted at, but no race in existence has even used the Crucible, because it has never been completed until now, and it is the work of many previous cycles of civilizations building upon each other. The catalyst is the Citadel itself, which begs even more questions, but I don't know. This is actually a good point to ask. Why does the Crucible attach to the Citadel and use it as a power source? I mean, I get it's the catalyst. Let's just... suspension of disbelief. I know it's a bit nitpicky, but if the Citadel is a Reaper invention, and the Crucible is an organic life invention over hundreds if not thousands of cycles, how do the plans contain the information to attach to the Citadel? Everyone, including the previous cycle of Protheans, didn't know what the catalyst was. So how do the plans contain the necessary features required to contain the catalyst? Because, you know, they don't know what it is. But I guess all that stuff magically works out, and the Crucible attaches to the Citadel to give you 3 choices. Alright, whatever, let's get... End of the side note. So what if instead of some all-implicating choice at the end of the series, we actually just use the Crucible, and it amounts to what is basically a huge EMP blast that specifically targets Reaper tech, therefore destroying the Reaper forces. But I know when I was thinking about this in my head that there's probably destroy the Citadel at the same time, but we could let's just make it a convenient weapon. Let's just make it a convenient weapon. It just kills Reapers, like alive things, like alive technology like Reapers. Let's just say it does that. Wouldn't it make more sense though?
I mean, you don't have to have some ridiculously huge choice to make in like the last 10 minutes of the game, at the end of the arc of the main storyline. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to do that. It would also allow closure to the main arc of the game, making room for epilogues where Shepard is alive, while allowing you to travel the galaxy yourself and see what has become of the galaxy from your own perspective, and that can be your own ending. Almost like allowing you to see the consequences of your decisions yourself. Wouldn't this be a far more impactful way to do things? Imagine being able to see Rex on Tuchanka after the war, where he has a kid now if you cure the genophage, or Tali building up a town with the Geth on their homeworld. Of course, all of the things that you see after the main story would all be your own personal customized ending, and bring you satisfaction or sorrow based on the decisions you personally made through all the games. I don't think that this would have been hard to implement. I mean, I'm basically taking what is already the main function of the game and story and just adding a bit more after the main arc. After killing the Reapers, finalizing the main arc of the story, the credits could roll, giving us a breather, and then we could continue our adventures for just a little bit more with Commander Shepard, stopping by some key locations to see what has happened to our personal games after the war. It would basically amount to some extra lines of dialogue and maybe a few minor quests because the threat is gone. Wouldn't this ultimately give you much more closure though? Some people might argue that this is actually too goody if you want to see a happy ending that defeats the entire purpose. But I disagree. If you worked hard through the games being a good guy, gathering the maximum amount of extras and war assets, you should see that reflected at the end of the game, and this way seems like a good way of doing it. Of course, if you didn't do the extra work, Earth's forces may have been lost. The Geth may have killed off the Quarian, or vice versa. Maybe the Krogan find out that they aren't really cured, or the pact between the races dies off rather fast. But nothing would actually have to happen, that's the whole point. I'm trying to make something different, maybe with just a few lines of dialogue. Maybe Rex, if he is alive still, just says something that hints that he may break the alliance with the Turian. But he wouldn't say that if you actually cured the genophage. This one function gives the entire series immense replayability, because Rex is a central character in all the games, and can potentially die in the first game. And all of that replayability comes with a few extra lines of dialogue at the end of the game. And that's just from one of the characters. What's stopping Bioware from doing this with all of the squad mates who survive? Bioware wouldn't have to do any extra missions or anything. It would just be purely dialogue. One last conversation with everyone can affect people so much that they want to see what they could have changed. Also, not that I endorse DLC, but it would open up the game to more DLC. If the main arc was over and you were alive, you could go on more missions. So, wouldn't this have been a far better move for Bioware to make? I mean, I never download DLC anyway, so whatever. And I'm not saying this is the best way to end the series, but it is another way. Ultimately, everyone will have different opinions, but this is just what I thought was wrong with the current ending. But this is all based off the assumption that Bioware didn't purposely give us the current ending for some reason. And of course, there is one explanation or theory currently that actually makes quite a bit of sense when you think about it, and also explains a lot more to the ending than the ending in its current state does. And that explanation is that Shepard himself has been indoctrinated and we just didn't know. The entire game you are watching from Shepard's perspective, we never leave that perspective more than a couple times to see what's going on elsewhere. The idea that Shepard, and by extension us, are indoctrinated becomes a much more viable answer to these riddles of Bioware's ending. It explains why the choices at the end of the game would have been reversed for Renegade and Paragon, because that is the Reaper's way of thinking, and they're already in your head trying to make us conform to their understanding and thought process. In short, they're trying to control us. It brings light to the ending sequence's many illogical choices, actions, and conclusions, and explains why Shepard is only hinted at living in the Renegade choice, where you destroy the Reapers or essentially fight off indoctrination. But even though indoctrination theory might explain way more than anything else in the game's current state, doesn't make it the right answer. And the fact that this theory exists as it does, a theory, means that there is still something wrong with the current ending to the game. It is incomplete. It just leaves too many questions unanswered, which isn't what you want from the end of a game trilogy. The fact that the problem will probably be solved by DLC makes this even more absurd. DLC is a means to extend the life of a game with optional content. It should never contain critical story elements to the game, especially the completed ending in this case. That is just ridiculous and the highest point of money gouging to your customers. If you're going to make a plot twist ending, Bioware, you should have included it in the box box release of the game, not leave the game in a mess of unanswered questions and theories.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video about the Mass Effect 3 ending and everything like that. You can follow me on the Facebooks. You know, sometimes I play games with people, sometimes I just like to hear from you. Tell me about your day. I don't know. Who knows? You can also check out some of these videos right here, some of my previous videos, and this other video about Indoctrination of Shepard and everything like that. It's worth checking out, definitely. So, go do that. And, yeah.
Also, don't forget to like and favorite the video, as that directly helps me out a lot. And, yeah,
Till the next time. Take it easy.